It's car con carne. Let's eat in the car. It's car con carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And welcome to Car con Carne. I'm James Van Alstyne, and the show is brought to us tonight by our friends at Siren Records in McHenry. Siren Records in McHenry, co-sponsoring a live show this coming Saturday night with me, presenting Broken Robots out in McHenry. Love that place. Go visit them. Go buy some records. Go buy some new vinyl. We all love vinyl. Vinyl that I do love is this fantastic new release from Reverend Peyton's big damn band, Dance Songs for Hard Times. Reverend Peyton is here. Reverend, I love bands like yours, and there are so few, but your band is the kind of band who, when you play it for a friend or a stranger for the first time, there's always this jaw-dropping amazement, like, where's this been all my life? I find that happens every time I turn someone onto your music.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. Where have we been? We've been for I guess just living in a van for the last decade or so. Trying to get the word out, I guess.
Well, it has been, what, 15 years?
15 years since our first record came out. And we first started really like touring full time and doing it. It's been 15 years. It's hard to believe. It's
big damnation,
so fast, man. I mean, I don't know. Can you count the last year and a half, though?
You can't. Well, count it. The last year and a half is important because without it, we probably wouldn't be getting this.
Well, that's true. That record would not have happened.
And I love the record. I want to get to that. For those who have not heard your band, the Reverend Peyton's big damn band, it's not quite blues, not quite rock. It's just something all on its own. It's just plain cool.
Well, the way I describe it is like this. So I always say, we call it front porch blues. And here's my whole deal, my whole everything from start to finish is all based around the original old country blues. Now, what I do with it is two things that, you maybe people that say they play country blues don't do. One, I have two percussionists, so it's that makes it amped up right off the bat, mm-hmm. Right? Imagine if you just take a Charlie Patton song and mix drums with it, right? Boom! All of a sudden, it's something else, kind of, right? And then the other thing is I don't pretend that the last 100 years of music didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, I don't sing about riding a mule into town because I never rode a mule into town. You know what I mean? So I think it's disingenuous to do so to people. Like, I think it messes things up. So I always write about, like, the things that I know personally firsthand. I think blues, one, has to be personal. Otherwise, it comes across really fake. Mm-hmm. And I think also, too, we can all go and we can go get a Buck of White record and listen to that, right? We don't need someone to keep telling us how Buck of White sounded, because we can go listen to Buck of White, right? Like, just going and playing some Buck of White songs and calling it a day, yep. That's not giving people what they want. You know what I mean? That's not what people are listening to, or at least looking for in new music. You know what I mean? Otherwise, they'll just sit at home and listen to Buck of White. So I never wanted to be just someone that was kind of a museum throwback. I always wanted to be someone that was making music for here and for now. And so that's kind of the thing. Like, sometimes they don't know what to say, like how to describe us, especially in the blues world. They're like, well, we always get put into the rock blues category, mm-hmm. and which is fine. I don't mind that at all, because our stuff, especially if you see our live show, is kind of amped up, but mainly just because there's drums, take Mississippi John Hurt and put a backbeat to it, and suddenly it's something else. You know what I mean?
So there's a washboard in the band too.
You've got there's two percussionists. That's a whole lot of rhythm, So that doesn't bother me, because I don't know where else they might fit us in, because sometimes with traditional, they want that stuff that almost is that sort of museum throwback, mm-hmm. and I refuse to do that. I want to make music that is in my heart here and now, and that is sort of moving things forward. I'm not trying to just be something that is a it exists under a microscope, or it exists like you could put it up on the wall, right? Like, let's put this up on the wall. One sort of thing I describe, and I don't want to, upset anybody, but maybe I will, is there are certain genres of music. One of my favorites being New Orleans jazz, right? Well, no one plays New Orleans jazz outside New Orleans. When you go, it's just there, right? You go and it's there, and it exists. And people go there on a trip, and they want to see that kind of music. Yep. And then they go home, and they don't listen to it, right? It almost doesn't exist outside of that space. And I think that's a dangerous thing, right? I really do. I think it's dangerous because you risk, keeping that music just relegated to museums, as opposed to allowing that music to be out and, something to be enjoyed, especially by young people. Because obviously, I mean, if young people aren't into it, at least, I mean, some of them, it doesn't have to be mainstream. It doesn't have to be top 40, right? You just have to have some young people that are helping to listen to it and move it forward, right? If it's not doing that, you run the risk of it being like, that is in a museum. Right. That is not music we're listening to anymore. That is not living, breathing music.
And this is quintessential American music too.
Well, and I think it's important, like I think New Orleans jazz is important, right? Yeah. Like I'm not knocking. Like I wish that there was you could go and in New York City, see it, right? I wish it wasn't just relegated. I think it's a thing that is sometimes we just have to be careful, right? And blues is one of those things that often comes very close to just being relegated to the museum. Right?
100%. I've been saying this here in Chicago. This city does a great job with the blues, but we do pay a lot of lip service to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, home of the blues, Muddy Waters, Buddy Guy, Willie Dixon. We talk about all that stuff, but we don't really practice that. That's really. Right. Maybe you'll hear a song or two as you land at Midway, but that's really all you get from Chicago at large when it comes to the blues.
And a genre of music needs a scene. It needs venues. It needs people to go and buy the records. It needs all of that. It needs all that, and it needs young people making new music that people want to hear, right? That's how you keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
And like, I one time years ago, I got this argument with some Blues Society president because they were saying they were talking about how much they did for the blues, and I said, "Oh, well, good. Like we're coming to town in a few months. Maybe you can help promote our show." And they said, "We don't do that." They said, "We don't promote shows of any kind." And I'm like, "Well, then what the hell are you doing for blues if you're not promoting the artists that are out there playing it? Because that's it. That's all there is. If you're not helping that, then you literally are doing nothing for blues music."
Right.
You're helping to relegate it to a museum and ultimately lead to its demise. And I'm telling you, man, I've had people mad at me for saying this, but it's a fact, like it or not, right? I think that when you get any kind of genre of music or any kind of living, breathing art form, and it's only relegated to museums, then it's no longer alive. Not in the same way. And let's take blues, for instance, like Chicago, right? Blues music is the heart and soul and core of all American music, all of it. All right. Now, people say, well, maybe not country. Wrong. Country music as we know it has been so heavily influenced by blues music that most people can't even recognize it anymore. They don't know. They just think that's what country music was, or, always was. But there is nothing as far as genre of music in America, which means really the world, that has not been touched by blues music as core and influenced by, and, completely changed by it. Right. So if you are to understand the history of American music, then you really should know a whole lot about blues. What's the best way to teach people about blues music? Well, it's not to take their hand and hold their hand through a museum. While that could be a very good way to do it, like that could be one way, right? But the best way to do it is if they just loved it. Mm-hmm. If they loved it as an art form, if they respected it as a genre of music, then you wouldn't have to hold their hand through the museum. They would seek out the museum, right? You wouldn't have to hold their hand through, like, hey, check out this record. They would just do it. They would seek it out. And then you wouldn't have to put in the work. And in order to do that, what do? Well, you've got to create music, and you have to expose them to stuff that is alive now, that makes it feel like it could be their music, not just their great granddads. You know what I mean?
100%. And now for people who are watching on YouTube or Facebook, what they may have just glimpsed in the background, that we caught just a hint of Breezy walking by.
Yeah, she walked by. She was trying to sneak by, but we saw her.
Yeah, no, we got it. It's there on celluloid, so to speak, or digital celluloid. We saw it. And as far as throwbacks go, the only real throwback I'll point to with Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band is it does kind of seem like you made a deal at the crossroads with the devil. Watching and listening to you play, just the finger picking and the stuff you're doing with the slide, that seems almost like you cut a deal with someone nefarious.
Man, I learned to play the same way that Robert Johnson did. And that's by pouring over the records and having a just almost unhealthy, relentless passion for it. And I've spent so many hours with these damn guitars, brother. Let me tell you, if I wasn't a professional musician, it would almost be a life wasted.
Fair. Now, you are from Indiana.
That's right. Yeah,
Although,
we're Southern Indiana.
But for people who are exposed to your music, it seems like maybe you came out of Mississippi, just listening to where you are musically. How much or how little of the Midwest has influenced who you are as a musician?
Oh, I mean, I think, it's a ton of it, especially like where we're at, right? So here in Southern Indiana, there is like I'm here in Brown County. I'm 1 mile from Bill Monroe's Music Park, where Bill Monroe had, all of his festivals for years, and the tradition continues. Even though Bill's gone, there's still tons of music festivals, with the flagship being the Bill Monroe Bluegrass Festival.
Mm-hmm.
The largest and longest running traditional bluegrass festival on planet Earth. There is a whole lot of music that has come up and out of Indiana that a lot of people don't realize, right? Well, first off, I mean, if you're going to go from Mississippi to Chicago, it's very possible that you come through Indiana, right? There was an artist by the name of Scrapper Blackwell, and he played with Leroy Carr, and they had a ton of influential songs, but Scrapper wrote this song called Sweet Home Kokomo, and Robert Johnson heard it, and he changed it to Chicago, and the rest is history. Yeah. People forget the Sweet Home Kokomo that came a few years earlier, but they remember Sweet Home Chicago, right? So
Kokomo's been forgotten.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that happened, like Indianapolis, north of me. Indianapolis was at the time a major musical town. They say it was second to Harlem when Indiana Avenue was really running. And it was, mainly jazz because that was the era. Mm-hmm. But, that's where Scrapper Blackwell and Leroy Carr were operating, who, in their day, they were so popular. Like I read this recently. They were so popular that they had to re-record some of their records because so many copies were pressed that the original recordings went bad. So to re-record them, so they keep selling them, right? Like that's unheard of. So in their day, they were some of the most famous bluesmen alive, in their day. So they were influencing people like Robert Johnson. They were influencing people like Son House. They were influencing people like Skip James. They were influencing folks like that, right? And that was coming out of Indianapolis, So between Scrapper and Bill Monroe, we're nestled right there, And I think, someone one time said that I was an anomaly around here. Maybe so, right? But I mean, I'm an anomaly anywhere, though. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't think that necessarily means I'm an anomaly in Indiana as much as I would be if I was, in Clarksdale, Mississippi, where we played a ton. As far as that goes, what I've tried to do is take my heroes of essentially fingerstyle country blues, right? And that's everyone from Charlie Patton at the beginning to, more recent fellas like Robert Belfour, right? And then I've tried to take, mix that with Appalachian blues and even Piedmont style finger picking and create something that was uniquely my own, and also try to do things that I never heard anybody do. Mm-hmm. I've tried to take it to certain places that it's never been, right? And but ultimately tell stories that are very much sort of set where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I very rarely write a song that isn't sort of set and placed and about home for me. And, it's like we were talking earlier. I think it's because blues has to be personal, it just has to be.
Well, we'll jump ahead to the album, Dance Songs for Hard Times. This is something you worked on over the past year. I've got to think more than any other song on the album, No Telling When, was about as personal and pandemic related as anything on that album.
It was, and it was one of the first songs I wrote for the record. And No Telling When, like that song is really actually that's pretty traditional, right?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward traditional blues song, and that's one of the oldest more traditional styles on the record. And that song is it's 100% autobiographical, and I think that maybe in 10 years, 15 years, when people forgot about this pandemic and are on to something else, I really hope that song will still matter to people. Someone that maybe is still, kept away from their family or their friends or their job by something else. Maybe it's, just some circumstance. I hope that it could still stand the test of time. But us being alive now, knowing what it's about, I think it's obvious that it's sort of about, just the pandemic and just like having. So I wrote it when I was feeling pretty down and lonesome, and I didn't know when I was going to get to see my family again. And I didn't know when I was going to get to do anything again. It was like the end of March, 2020, when I wrote that song, and I was feeling pretty lonesome at the time. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we all were. I kind of buried the lead here. Reggie's August 20th, Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band in Chicago, August 20th at Reggie's. I totally buried the lead.
The triumphant return.
The triumphant return. So the catnip that I think draws people to the rest of the album, Ways and Means. Stop me if you've lived this one before. I got all the ways. I just ain't got the means. It's swampy, it's bluesy, it's haunting, it's this gospel boogie song. The video, you love your videos. You
I did.
Holy crap, watching you have so much fun doing videos. It's apparent.
Man, so music videos are something that I absolutely love, okay? And maybe I shouldn't, sometimes people are like, why do you spend so much effort on your music videos? I had a record label that was trying to sign us one time that they just flat out said that me spending so much effort on these music videos was a waste of time. They told me that. They said it was a waste of time. And I said, well, here's why I look at it. Everyone's going to take a cell phone video at the show and they're going to put that on YouTube anyway. And it's going to be a blown out, terrible cell phone video. Someone's going to be the back of someone's head is up there. The light's not going to be right. They're going to be too close to one side of the room or too close to speakers. So you're going to maybe not hear the guitar or hear too much of it or whatever, Or we can make a video that is made by us that helps us paint a picture so that people not only hear the song the way we intend it to be heard, but they kind of get a visual aspect that ties it in. Maybe it helps us help along. Because, how many times, have you heard a song and then you formulate some kind of opinion in your brain about what that song's about.
Every time.
And then the artist tells you what it's about, and you're bummed. You're like, oh man, I didn't think it was about that. I thought it was about So with a video, you can kind of help them along, right? Mm-hmm. You can help them along. You help the fans, the people watching. You help them kind of understand sort of where you were at with it, So with Ways and Means, I just felt like, what the song is about essentially at its core, it's just, is about. And I always say this, I don't have a famous last name. I have a rich daddy who could funnel money into my career. I didn't have a famous name that helped me get on, some festival. I'm not no legacy artist. Just a poor guy from Southern Indiana. So everything it was come about real honest, and we had to, you know what I mean? So it that's kind of what that song's about. Cause like I said, everything's real personal, so it's about and I hope that anybody that does not have generational wealth or a legacy career, can understand where it's coming from. And I thought, man, there is no place more perfect than a laundromat.
Yes. And so the whole video, for people who haven't seen, the video takes place in a laundromat. You get out of the car with basically a trash bag full of clothes, and it's a freak show. Now, to be clear, a lot of your videos, what's happening in the background, the cast of characters in the background of other videos too, that's the show right there. There's a lot going on around you, but yeah, you it's this tour through a laundromat, and it's just.
Yeah, and I told the band, I said, the video is going to be in a laundromat, and they're like, that sounds like the most boring thing ever. And I go, no. It's going to be cool, trust me. Right? So, and I told Breezy, I said, everyone's going to be wearing the same colors, and she's like, what do you mean? What colors? And I go, well, I won't know until I find the laundromat. We're going to match it to the laundromat.
So the colors are green
and yellow.
Yeah.
Yep, green and yellow. So when we went in there, like, you know, we found this awesome laundromat because we went in the little laundromat in our county, and been in there a bunch. Went in there and talked to the manager, who talked to the owners, and they said we called them up, and they said, we would love to have you shoot in there, but to be honest with you, if you go one county over, we own another laundromat, and we think you'd like it better. It looks like it is a laundromat from 1970, and It is perfect. So we went over there, and it looked like a movie set, and it looked like all the laundromats I remember, because like I was born in the 80s, but all the laundromats looks like the 70s still. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So like when I was a kid going to the laundromat, this is what it looked like. And they had all of these old school folding tables that looked like they were straight out of 1972 or something. It was perfect. So what we did was, and for people that haven't seen the video, we did a weird thing with this, and we made it a little more cinematic. There's like 23 seconds before the music starts. So before the music starts, we moved everything that was green and yellow out. So all those colors of tables and things were moved out. And then after that, the majority of the tables and everything in there was that green and yellow. We put them all on the shot and camera to help it flip it over. So
now I need to go back and rewatch this. Now you're just making me rewatch this.
Yeah, then everybody changes clothes, and now all the clothes in the laundromat and all the people and everything you once saw, everything matches and with the color scheme. And then, you know, it's a fun dance video. It's all these really cool dancers that are just kind of like showing out and us just kind of having fun with it. And it ended up being I think it's one of my favorite videos we've ever done, just because it just kind of it makes you feel good. And I think it's a nod to all those people that know what the inside of a laundromat looks like. You know what I mean? And then the people that don't, like, they don't get it. They just think it's people dancing, and they don't really understand. They're like, oh, they're folding clothes. They don't quite get it, and that's fine too. You know.
No, some of the best people watching, it happens at the laundromat.
That's right.
It is such a cross section.
That's right. And my idea was that someone folding clothes next to the laundromat, like, they may be spectacular, right? Like they may be someone who is spectacular. They may be an artist in their own right. You know, they may be someone that's super special, and they're there like you are because they don't have the money to either, you know, have someone send the clothes out or have the washer and dryer in your house or whatever, you know. So that's why they're there. And I thought, man, if you knew everybody in the laundromat, like if everybody could tell their story one night at 3 a.m. in a laundromat, what would it be like? You know, and maybe it would be interesting. Maybe it'd be wild. Maybe there'd be, you know, these interesting characters there. And I thought, well, this night there is, you know, and that's kind of the idea. And it was fun to do. That one was a lot of fun to do. Well,
speaking of videos, Dirty Hustlin', it's you in puppet form. Please tell me, this is a big ask, but you're coming to Reggie's on the 20th of August. Please tell me that at some point at the merch table, we'll be able to buy Reverend Peyton puppets.
Oh man, I wish. We looked into it. They're too expensive. No one would pay $1,000 for one. So it costs a fortune to make those things. Wouldn't be 1,000, maybe a lot. You know, that video is it's nuts. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That video's nuts. I think it's one of our craziest videos, and I've always wanted to do a video with puppets. It's something we talked about for years, and I actually know a handful of puppeteers, and I've always kind of threatened to be like, hey, you know. But my friend Shelby Kelly started doing during the pandemic, he started really doing these like very like, like Muppet-esque Sesame Street style stuff with his wife, who's a teacher. And I saw that. And then I was like, I know exactly what I want the video to be. I got it. This is easy. I know. And I called him up and I said, hey, this is what I want. And then, when it was coming through, I was talking with the band. I'm like, okay, so all these like, things are going to happen with this puppet. And at some point, I don't want to give it away too much, but at some point, something pretty bad happens to the puppet. I don't want to ruin it. Hang on a second. Something happened to my computer. Can you still see me?
I can see you. You're brightly lit.
All right.
You have a heavenly glow about you.
All right, let me try to figure out what happened here. I'm messing this up. It just like went away for me. There it is. Okay. I'm back.
Everything's fine.
Everything's good. Okay. In the middle of my puppet story. So I'm like, so something bad happens to the puppet. I don't want to give it away for people. I think they should go see what happens to the puppet. Yeah. That's kind of the climax of the whole video. And when you see this, there is like everybody that's in the video too. All of the people they're the actors. All right. They are people that are some of my best friends in the whole world. And every single person that's in that video has been in at least one of our other videos. And some of them have been in like 4 or 5.
That's amazing. Like I said, I mean, whether it's, clap your hands or whatever, there are always interesting things going on swirling around you.
And we have no budget. We have like, no one gives us money for this. Like
Right.
It's just something we do. And I have to call up my friends and family and say, hey, it's time to make some more videos. And they come out and they help me. And I don't know why, but it's, I feel like the luckiest person in the world. I mean, with this one, with these videos for this record, we could only gather up 10 people because that was what we were restricted to with the coronavirus. And, we were trying to do everything right. You know what I mean? I mean, everybody, I made everybody get coronavirus tested over and over again. I begged them to quarantine themselves so we could be together. I begged them to wear masks and we were all to, like in any tight spaces together.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to work up like kind of a green room area outside with, a tent so that they could come out and be in, fresh air. I tried so hard to do everything right, and, but it also made it like we couldn't do a clap your hands style video or Raise the Hell where I gather up 500 people. Raise the Hell, I gathered up 500 people and I had to close off 2 city blocks in 2 different towns. I mean, that was a crazy, but we couldn't do anything like that. We couldn't do anything that big, They had to be ideas where we only needed 10 people at a time.
Right.
And that includes us. That includes lights, camera, sound, you name it, the whole deal. So the ideas had like, it kind of helped me, sort of sometimes that sparks inspiration, when you're sort of, kind of stuck in a way like that.
Totally.
That makes sense.
Oh, I think if anything, the pandemic pushed a lot of creative people into new innovations or new ways to do old things. I mean, we all had to.
Well, we had to. I mean, not just with like influencing the songs and what they're about and the videos, but like it has restructured my whole career. I mean, right now if it weren't for Patreon and our live streams, I don't know what I'd do. I'd be a bank robber or something, man. I don't know. I can't go back to doing anything else. I've done nothing but this for 15 years. I mean, I've got no other skills. This is it. This is what I've got. And before that, man, I've been a professional musician since I was 13. That's when I started giving guitar lessons.
Wow.
So, I mean, I literally, I've got nothing else. I'm super specialized, It ain't like, well, I might fall back on my ability to work on cars. I don't know how to do none of that. You know what I mean? I know guitars. That's what I know. It's crazy. I know fishing. I started a fishing guide business last summer. So I took some people fishing, did a fishing guide thing. I was kind of part-time, but I mean, that was more just for fun than it was like a job. I knew that I was getting much time off. I was going to be fishing anyway. I might as well try to make a buck, maybe make some new friends at the same time.
I completely get what you're saying. I mean, I'm a guy who went all in on radio for a career, and got to figure out a way to keep this going.
Yeah. Everything's changing, man. I mean, it's wild, right? So I think about this sometimes. Like if our band had come up, let's say like the Big Damn Band had come up in the 70s or the 80s, right? It never would have worked. Like people would have been too confused. They never would have understood. Record labels been like, well, we can't put you in like this box, so we don't know how to sell it. So
I don't hear a hit. Sorry.
Yeah, like it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna be on the radio, so we don't know where to put you. So sayonara, that'd be the end of it, but thanks to the internet and thanks to these big changes in music that are like a double-edged sword, it's made it possible for us to have a career. Because I mean, that our entire career was born on the internet. I mean, we wouldn't have a career if it weren't for our YouTube videos. All these people telling me that they're stupid to waste time on them, but I don't think that we would have a career if it weren't for them. I mean, that's where everything really starts from. Is man, I see you all on YouTube, and it's like awesome. I love it. I love hearing that. That's organic. That's come by. That's come honest. I mean, there was no payola, no big. Right. We never had some big. Like
a promoter.
Big major label. Come in, throw a bunch of money at it. We never had any of that stuff. It was all, we, for the first 2 years that we were full time on the road, we lived in a van. We were homeless. We didn't have anything. I ate ketchup packets for dinner some nights because I was so broke. I mean, it was like, oh, good, there's some ketchup packets here. You don't have to be hungry. I mean, it was pathetic how lean those times were. And I was afraid we were going to go back to it with the pandemic. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I mean, the song Dirty Hustling, that was it. Like, I don't know if I can talk about what kind of business I used to be into when I first met Breezy, but I was very young. I'll just preface it with that. So also when you're young, you're stupid. And I was also very poor and I needed money. And it wasn't anything like, murder for hire or drug dealing, but there was some slightly nefarious, let's just say, not immoral, but not legal business that I was involved in. Correct. So when the pandemic started, I told Breezy at one point where we were driving to our storage unit. I think I was getting some stuff that I was going to try to sell. And I'm like, look, I ain't scared of dirty hustling. We're going to be just fine. I'll figure something out. Because she was so sick, I didn't know she was going to make it. And I was a nervous wreck. So I was kind of talking to myself as much as I was talking to her, When
we haven't even addressed the fact that she was sick during COVID, during the pandemic. And it got bad and scary.
It was really bad. So March 3rd of 2020 was when I first felt sick. And I remember because I'll never forget it. March 3rd, I woke up, felt puny. And I never got, I had a really, I think, mild case, right? Everybody else got sick, varying degrees. Mm-hmm. Breezy got really sick. And she ended up, our last show was, I think, March 11th in Chicago. And March the 12th, I took her to the hospital. By March 12th, she'd gotten so bad that it was scary. So we go to the hospital. Doctor's like, look, normally I wouldn't send someone this sick home for nothing, but I don't know if we're going to be swamped with elderly people in here dying. Like, I just don't know. So he's like, you go home, stay away from people. Like, you've got to take this seriously. And, if she gets any worse, take her in. If she doesn't improve, take her in. So 3.5 weeks later, she still is sick. With 102 temperature off and on for 3.5 weeks. At the 3-week point, I went and got a second thermometer because I didn't believe it. I thought, well, this has got to be wrong, But it was not wrong. And, she's still dealing with stuff. They say her lungs are going to be scarred forever. She's got now she's dealing with some long haul COVID stuff, they think. So little is known about this just yet, right. That they're not 100% sure if it's long haul COVID or something else that's going on, but she's being treated at some long haul COVID places. There's like a long haul COVID center, and she does these treatments for vertigo and all this other stuff. And me, even though my case was so mild, like I probably had 25 illnesses in my life that I think were worse than what it was for me. I had a brain fog. I mean, it was the best way I can describe it. I had a fog.
I've heard other people say the same thing. Yeah.
For about 5 months. So bad that I thought that I had lead poisoning. I contacted a friend of mine out in California that works with people with lead poisoning. I'm like, look, I've got lead poisoning. I got this letter from saying that my water could have lead in it. I think I've got lead poisoning. And she's like, what are your symptoms? I told her, and she's like, you do not have lead poisoning. She's like, I don't know what you have, but it is not lead poisoning. And you can go back and like listen to our podcast from that time. You can go back and listen to me do interviews. I was stuttering, couldn't get the words out. It was pathetic. Like I listened to myself and I'm just like, oh my, I can't believe that's how I sounded, you know?
That's
Terrifying.
terrifying.
Well, there were a few times when I got so frustrated, man. I mean, I was kicking stuff over my house because I couldn't remember the words to like, I couldn't remember the lyrics to Clap Your Hands one time in rehearsal. Think about how silly that is. There are barely lyrics to that damn song, right? And I couldn't remember the words to them. I mean, I felt like I was losing my mind, you know, but in a way I kind of was, you know. But slowly it's come back. But I started doing stuff, man. This is how my brain works. I'm like, I've got to start like working my brain, right? So I started playing Jeopardy by myself late at night. I watched Jeopardy episodes and try to, you know, because I felt like my mind was just slow. Like I couldn't bring out the words fast enough, you know. I knew what the word was. My mouth wouldn't say it. My brain couldn't get my body to do it. Just kind of like when you first wake up and you're like, okay, well, you know, it just felt like that all the time. It was terrible.
Wow.
Terrible.
Well, the interesting thing, Reverend Peyton, Dance Songs for Hard Times, this feels like a celebratory album. This is a fun album to listen to. I mean, knowing what was going on with you and Breezy behind the scenes during the songwriting process, and knowing what I'm listening to here, there's almost a disconnect. I mean, you talk about being poor, Crime to Be Poor. This is a cool bluesy stomp. The harmonica on this is fantastic and fun. Like it's a celebratory album.
Well, you know, so I had someone one time pointed this out to me. They said, they're like, Rev, you always write these terribly sad songs that sound happy. and you know, I kind of pay attention. Like, yeah, maybe, you know, I guess so. So when I kind of had these songs, right, the working title for the record was Dance Songs for Hard Times. Because I said, you know, that's kind of like where I was going in my brain, you know. And then when it was all said and done, I'm like, I love that title. Like, that's what this is. Like, I don't want that to be working title. There's no titles be better than that. That's the title of this record. And, you know, you go through the songs, though, like, I mean, like Ways and Means is really a hard time song. Dirty Hustlin's a hard time song.
Sad Song's the least sad song on the album.
Yeah, sad songs. Like, it doesn't sound sad, but it's about how sad you are. Don't leave me here with these sad songs, you know. It's about, you know, that lonesome and have nothing else but these songs. Ain't No Telling When is obviously a sad song. I think Come Down Angels is actually one of the most pessimistic, cynical songs I've ever written in my entire life. I don't even know if I feel that bad about things, but at the time when I wrote that song, I did. And that's how we closed out the record. It's a big gospel-y number, but, you know, when you get to the words, it's like, I think those lyrics are overly cynical. I'm not sure if I don't know, you know, you know, even like Nothing's Easy But You and Me, like that's kind of a hard time song too. I think the only song on the record to me that isn't melancholy from top to bottom is Rattle Can, because it's just a straight dance song. It's not even about anything. But even like Too Cool to Dance, right? So Too Cool to Dance is one I'm super proud of. Top to bottom, start to finish, I'm proud of this song. And it's it kind of sounds like maybe a song that, you know, from the 1950s, maybe Chuck Berry, like a lost Chuck Berry song or something, right? Which is sort of weird for us, okay? But there's two things. One, the guitar picking is I'm super proud of it, because when you listen to it, you think there's two, maybe three guitars. There's not. There's one. I recorded all that live to tape with one
awesome
guitar. So all the bass you hear happen at the same time you're hearing all those Chuck Berry licks, I'm doing all that. And people didn't believe it. I show them live. You know, now we're playing live again. I show that I can do it. I can totally do it. And it is 100% how it was. But even that song, Too Cool to Dance, like I was kind of talking to myself. Like when I wrote that song, it was Breezy was sick. She couldn't hardly get up that day out of bed to do nothing, to get to the bathroom. And we lost power here in Brown County for like 4 days. And I'm sitting by candlelight, and it was just lonesome. I mean, it just felt like, didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, at that point in time, you got to remember, I didn't know if there was going to be toilet paper pirates coming for my toilet paper. You know what I mean? I'm like walking around the yard with a 12 gauge shotgun just in case, like, I mean, it was like, I didn't know. It was scary times, and I was like thinking to myself, like, man, if things ever get back to normal, I don't want to be too cool to dance, right? I don't want to waste another second. It's like Too Cool to Dance is really about seizing the day, and it's like written like it's a love song, because it kind of is, but where I was at with that was like, man, I hope no one feels like they're too cool to dance anymore. I hope we go out there and we seize the day and we dance and we do it. That's what that song's really about. So to me, like, it's almost a melancholy about that song too. I felt like every song was sad almost, but and somehow it doesn't feel that way, when it start to finish, when you listen to the record,
For sure.
So I just thought, in my mind, I remember a friend of mine saying, all of your songs are sad, and if you listen to the words,
Yes,
not all of them, but I knew what he was saying.
As we talked about your success with Patreon and all the videos on YouTube, you are a very digitally successful artist. That said, I felt like, just based on what you're doing, I felt like this had to be heard on vinyl. Like I had to go analog with my listening.
It is really designed for it, man. It really is. It was recorded all on it, and this people are going to think I'm lying, but I'm not. 8 tracks of analog tape. There's just 8 tracks of analog tape, and we worked with Vance Powell. His credits include Jack White and Beyonce. He's got a Grammy for Lemonade. I mean, it's unbelievable, And he and I talked on the phone. I was talking with different producers. I didn't want to go in and produce it myself. I wanted to just be able to show up and play.
Sure.
I didn't want to have to think about, like, man, is that microphone right? Or I just want to be like, I want to go in there and play and sing my ass off. That's all I wanted to worry about. I wanted to know that on the other side of that microphone was someone that understood where we were coming from and was going to make it right. Wouldn't have to worry about it. And someone also that if we didn't get it right, they'd be like, hey, man, do it again,
Right.
So I talked to a lot of different people, and Vance, first off, Vance had seen us, a few times. And so he really understood our vibe. And he's like, Rev, not only do I want you to play this live, but I want to do it to 8 tracks of analog tape. I want to make this, like, I want you to sing it live, the whole deal. He's like, I want you to come in here and you just be Reverend Peyton. And that sounded good to me.
Yeah.
It really did. And I thought, if anybody can do it, it's him. And, I think it's our best record we've ever done. And I don't think that I know. Who am I kidding? I know it's our best record. And there's a lot of reasons for that, man. But, Vance Powell is up there as one of the reasons why. We've been working on ourselves. Like, I've been working on being a better singer, a better writer, a better player of music. This song the songs were written under, I mean, I've never had that kind of stress in my life. All the terrible things that happened to me. It was just like, my dad had cancer. Breezy's sick, won't get well. I'm sitting around, there's no power's going on and off over here. I wasn't sure about food. I was scared to even go to the grocery store to buy food because I didn't know if I was still going to spread this thing around. I'm going to, my storage unit. I'm trying to find stuff to sell. I'm like selling guitars on eBay, trying to figure it out. I mean, it was, it was crazy, it was so stressful. And like every now and then I talk to someone, they go, well, I've really enjoyed this. Like, punch.
Right.
Shut up.
Don't say that to any musician or anyone who is music adjacent. Yeah.
It's fine if it wasn't bad for you and you enjoyed it. You got to work from home or whatever it was. You made a bunch of money or whatever it was, it's good. But I don't want to hear about it.
Well, I'm ecstatic that here we are and we're able to talk about the band coming back to Chicago, especially given the circumstances of how the last appearance in Chicago ended up. I mean, what a way to kind of reclaim your
it
power.
was wild.
You know?
That last night in Chicago was wild because it was a sold out show way in advance, right? And about half the people showed up.
Yeah.
Because people were scared, you know? I mean, we probably shouldn't have played the show, but at the time, no one knew exactly how widespread it was. And we kind of had to wait until, you know, they sort of pulled the shows, you know what I mean? I had to kind of wait. Like we couldn't do it, you know? We had to wait for the city or whoever to say, hey, no more shows. You know, so we had to do it. And, you know, at the time also, like if I'd known that we were all sick, that'd have been a different thing too. I mean, I knew we were sick. I didn't think we had coronavirus. You know what I mean? I thought, oh, there's no way it's this, you know, we just caught something bug on the road, you know, life on the road's nasty. I had no idea, you know, I mean, at the time there weren't tests everywhere like they were saying, oh, well, like one guy in Washington State's got sick and there's like 2 people in Florida,
right.
You know, I mean, we had no idea. So then when we found out, like I kept it to myself for a while because I didn't want people to think like, oh, Reverend Peyton's out there spreading this thing around. And,
right.
You know, because we were probably, but we didn't mean to be, you know what I mean? We weren't trying to do nothing wrong. As soon as we found out we were sick, like I stayed in my house for a month. I had friends dropping off eggs on my porch and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I was scared because they would say, oh, well, quarantine for 14 days. Well, at the time, I didn't know if that was quarantine for 14 days after you don't feel sick anymore or when you first feel sick or what, you know, what does that mean, quarantine for 14 days? We didn't know. So we were here for a month, you know, an absolute month before we did anything. And Breezy, because she was sick for so long, she was probably here stuck in the house going nowhere for 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, and I would just go to the store or whatever and come back.
So Reggie's August 20th, we get
Help
you
us celebrate. Yeah, Reggie.
But that's what it is, isn't it, Rev? I mean, this is a celebration in every way, shape, and form.
It is. You know
coming
what?
back together.
And those of us that have lived through this time, all right, those of us that know, because every generation has something, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just what our generation has to piss with, you know. It just is, and that's okay, you know. Really, it is, and I'll tell you why. Because sometimes you need things like this to remind you just how important it is to get out there, just how important each other, like we are to each other. You know, I mean, you don't realize just how much like a friend. I met with some friends of mine last week, and I drove an hour and a half to see them. And, you know, some of them were like complaining about driving 5 minutes. And I'm like, I come an hour and a half because, man, I'm not wasting any more time. Like this, it's slipping away and it's short. And, you know, we've lost too many people we know to the coronavirus this last year. I feel really, really lucky that my parents made it through unscathed, knock on wood. My dad's cancer free right now, knock on wood.
Congratulations.
Breezy made it through, knock on wood. We're all good, you know? So it's like, I don't want to waste any of these moments, you know? So every show, every single one, you know, I hope that people come out and they remember, you know, like, let's not be too cool to dance. Let's not waste another minute, you know, let's do it because you just don't know, you know, you don't know. I mean, we woke up you know, in the beginning of March, we're running through, we're getting ready to do the biggest tour of the year. And we've got all these sold out shows and it's looking great. And by the middle of March, everything I had ever worked for my entire life was done for, was stopped, halted with no end in sight. And you just never know, man. You know, my tour manager, Shane, he lost his granddad who really raised him more like his dad. You know, so like I feel sometimes it always made me feel like I don't know, like some kind of wuss complaining about my troubles when he lost his granddad. You know, he had to put on like a hazmat suit to go see him in his last moments, you know? So it makes me feel, you know, sort of like, I don't know, like Rev, you whiner.
Oh, you know, that's silly. We all went through stuff, varying degrees, but we all went through stuff.
It was bad. And like at the time, like, especially like the end of March, beginning of April, like those 4 weeks, right?
Yeah.
That was, I mean, I wasn't in my right mind. You know I had some kind of fog going on. The anxiety and everything was pushing me to the limits. I was just so worried about Breezy and my family and everybody else. it was just crazy. You know, it was nuts. But you know, your brain has this beautiful thing it does too. You know, you always, and that's why nostalgia is so dangerous, because your brain only remembers the good things. It blocks out all the bad things. So
true.
all the bad stuff about that, like my brain hardly remembers. I think about, but I remember all the good things. I remember all the great times that Breezy and I had sitting around here at the house, and we got a cat, which we never had an animal ever because we were on the road too much. And we got a cat, and we love him. I never thought I could love a cat. I didn't know that you know, cats were the way they are. So like I have all these great memories with that. We crafted this record. I'm super proud of, made these videos, and I'm also proud too that like I kept my guys paid. No one lost their house. You know, no one. We stayed a band making music, and you know, it was really thanks to the fans with the Patreon and the with the live streams. You know, they really helped us stay afloat. They helped us make it through. You know, and they're helping us make it through, because I think the music business has changed. I don't think concerts are coming back the same way that they were maybe for a year or so from now. It's just a lot of promoters took a hit. There's too many venues that are gone. Reggie's, though, is still there.
So yes, it is.
So it's a celebration there for sure.
It is. Again, August 20th, the Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band, the new album, Dance Songs for Hard Times. And here we are having good times moving forward. Rev, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.